It's a beautiful 90-degree day here in Tampa, Florida. And in today's video, we're going to talk about things you need to consider if you want to get some ape hangers. And so if you haven't had ape hangers yet, or we're just looking for what you think might be the right size, I think this video will help you out a little bit. My name is Brandon Hart. I've been riding for over 20 years. I ride just about every day, thousands of miles a year. I have 4 Harleys currently, and all of them have ape hangers. Everything from 10 inches, 12 inches, 14 inches, and 16 inches. I am repping my Iron Coast t-shirt. We got some really cool designs out there. Check it out, ironcoastsupply.com. Instagram at Iron Coast Supply, and heck, check me out on Instagram too, at BrandonHart_. I'm currently riding my 2002 Harley-Davidson Road King Classic. I've done a lot of videos on this bike over the last couple of months and been through a lot, but she is running strong. She sounds great with those fishtail pipes in the back, no baffles. And up front, I have 16-inch factory 47 Vikla style bars. These are in the 1.5-inch diameter. Typically, most bars you see are going to be around 1.25 inches. That's your standard size. This is probably more of an aggressive bar setup than most people. Like 16-inch, that's kind of the Vikla standard. There's so many factors to consider. Everything from what type of motorcycle you ride to your seat height, arm length, and how tall you are. For reference today, I'm about 6'1". Not really sure what my reach is. I got some pretty lanky arms. And these bars sit a tad above my shoulder. For my Florida people, it is technically against the law to have bars above your shoulders in the state of Florida. So before you even go down this road, you might want to check if it's legal where you're at. And I mentioned the differences with bikes. I'll give you an example. My brother has a Softail Deluxe. I think it's like a 07 or 08, and he put Carlini 16-inch bars on it. So same height as these bars, but they sit a lot higher. So when I look at videos and pictures of him cruising on that thing, even though they're the same bars and we're relatively the same height, his hands are probably a good 3 to 4 inches higher than mine. And that's because of the risers. So because this is a Road King, the risers really can't be raised if you want to keep the integrity of this whole headlight contraption. So basically, if I was to tear this off, the riser is underneath this plastic piece, this chrome piece. And if I was to put a taller riser on, I couldn't put this chrome piece on, which basically secures everything to the headlight. So aside from changing the style of my riser, it's going to sit a lot lower than a Softail, where typically if you buy bars, you update your risers. You might have like a 1 inch, 1.5 inch, even a 2-inch riser. So that's one thing you want to definitely consider. If you have a taller riser, you might not need bars that are as tall. So like a 14-inch bar with a 2-inch riser is going to be very similar to a 16-inch setup that I have today. The next piece of it I want to call out, just as we're talking about risers and all that, are the bushings underneath the risers. So Harley-Davidson stock comes with rubber bushings. What that allows you to do is have a little flex in the handlebars, theoretically taking away some of the extra vibration. Now, a lot of people, when they buy ape hangers, they'll upgrade those to either polyurethane or solid aluminum bushings. Polyurethane kind of gives that blend of a little flexibility, but also a little more firmness for peace of mind. And the reason I like the solid bushings is because there's no flex. So my bars do not move at all, up and back. There's no wiggle room. They say that increases the amount of vibration you get in your arms. But hey, this bike is an 02, and still don't really feel the vibration. I mean, it's a Harley. you're going to get vibrations regardless. I still recommend the solid bushings. It's the better feel. And you don't want wobbly handlebars, especially if you're going up to the 16-inch size. So a couple of things that really change the dynamics of your bike, I would say, is bars, seat, and suspension. Right? Maybe you have a lower bike, you have a lower seat. You got to think about all that kind of stuff. And as you're looking through and investigating, hey, what size should I get? You might want to check out some of your local dealerships. At least sit on a bike that has 8s to kind of feel out where and what it might feel like. And some dealerships, like Burt's here in Pinellas County, they'll allow you to do test rides as long as you have your endorsement on your license. Because the ride is where you're really going to feel the difference. In my opinion, having ape hangers drastically improves your ability to corner in both fast and slow speed maneuvers. Now, you don't want to go overboard, so if you're like 5'2", 5'3", you could do 16s, but I would probably recommend against it. Here's what I'll say. My recommendations would be, if you're under 5'10", and you've never had 8s before, I'd probably recommend 14s on most bikes would be like a comfortable size. 12s and 14s would be fine. I have 12s on my Street Glide and they work out just fine for me. Now, the angle also affects it. So like I like to have my bars straight up from the ground. So they'll push forward a little bit. And if I was to pull these back, a lot of people call them pullbacks. If I pulled these back a little bit, they'd sit a little bit lower. So it also depends on where you want the bar location is that you can play around a little bit with. But if I push these forward, they're going to be even more difficult for me to reach. But at this location, I really like how my back is straight. Kind of forces me to sit up straight. If I do, technically, if I get pulled over, it's pretty close to my shoulder. Might be able to get away with it. So if you're 6 foot and up, you're probably going to be comfortable with 16s. If you've got experience with 8s, you might even be able to go up to 18s if it's legal where you're at. Like, I'll be honest with you, I want 18s for this bike, even though it's illegal. But my good friend Nick, who we ride with a lot, had 18s on his, and he got pulled over and got an $800 ticket. And I don't want an $800 ticket. So I'm not gonna put 18s on the bike. Just not worth it. Still want them. I think it would look cool. I say give you an idea, you know, go sit on some bikes, check it out. If you have the money for it, maybe order 2 pairs and just mock it up on your bike before you hook everything up, just to give you an idea, and send the other pair back if that's an option. There's also the installation. So, you know, these are factory 47. I think I paid maybe 500-ish bucks. Carlini bars are typically the highest end, you know, 600-700 bucks. I think Cyclesmiths makes some good bars. They can get pricey, but that's just for the bars. You also have companies like Dominator. They'll do pre-wired setups where you only have to run the clutch line, the throttle by wire, or the throttle cables. So it makes it a little bit easier. Myself, I just get the wire extension kit. It's very easy to do if you have even the slightest mechanical knowledge. Just solder the wires together or shrink wrap them. So if you have a weekend day, like a Saturday or a Sunday, or a couple nights after work and a friend, even when not having it done before, throw YouTube on, put a tutorial, you can get it done. If you are extending the clutch and the brake line, you'll need to get those as well. So you'll have to be prepared to bleed the brakes and learn how to do that, as well as attach the clutch. You're going to need to take the transmission cover off. So you'll need a transmission gasket. You'll need some transmission fluid to put it back together, and depending on your bike, you might even have to take the exhaust off. On the Road King, I had to remove the exhaust completely to do the bars. So that's why the dealers typically charge like $900 to $1,400. But if you really take the time, I'm confident you can do it. And while you're in there adjusting the bushings, upgrading, good time to check out your grips, maybe even your levers while you have everything apart. I have Avon grips on my bike, and I like these. I had the all chrome that came with it when I bought it, but I like to have the stickiness of this rubber, and it's not too thick. I find that Avon grips are really good quality. That's what I run on this bike. I want to say, I mean, I've installed all of my ape hangers myself. And the Road King, it can be a little tricky because you do have to take the whole headlight housing off. All that stuff has to come off to access the wiring. But it's probably easier than my Street Glide, where you have to take the fairing off. So I guarantee you on YouTube you can find it step by step. That'll walk you through the process. But before you go through and hook everything up, make sure that your clutch line is long enough, your brake lines and your throttle lines. Make sure all that is long enough first before you get to a situation where you don't have enough slack. And why would you get ape hangers? I mean, for me, it comes down to a couple of things. I love the look, like that gangstered out ape look, right? You know, the way it sits on the bike and the way that it rides. When I bought this, it had the normal stock parts, which are probably like down here. And I'll be honest, I'm not as comfortable with those. Like taking turns and stuff, I had to really think about it. And it could be because I'm just used to apes. I mean, I've had 5 bikes with ape hangers, my last 5 bikes. But I won't go back, I'll tell you that. So, you know, I can dispel the rumor that your arms go numb. Of course, you're going to need a rest after a while, like anything. But it's not like your arms are going to go completely numb, and you know, you're going to have to pull over all the time. You know, you're going to have fatigue just like any other bar. But I haven't noticed where it's like, oh, my hands go numb. I can't do ape hangers. I've never noticed that. And I've taken some long trips, not with this bike, but like with my Street Glide and stuff. So, you know, you're probably here because you've been thinking about getting them. So most dealers at least let you sit on the bikes, find a bike with apes, maybe bring a little measuring tape with you and measure from the bottom up. Another thing to consider is the width. These are 1.5 inches. The stock width is 1.25 inches. And that's important because the risers in here, the stock risers, accommodate 1.25 inch bars. So you can't see it, but this 1.5 inch tapers down to 1.25 inch. Same thing up top here. And you can barely see, but it tapers down a little bit to allow for the controls. Make sure the bars have that. And like in my brother's case where he got the 1.5 inch Carlinis, they were 1.5 inch all the way through. So you would need to buy the new risers and be 1.5 inch risers where you know the bar could fit. Otherwise, like these, I'm really happy with these factory 47s. If it has a step down 1.25 inch, I just use the stock risers with the Road King. No issues. Obviously, when you're putting it back together, make sure everything is torqued down the spec. But with the aluminum bushings, this thing is solid. And as an ape hanger enthusiast, I promise you, Well, I promise you it's at least worth trying. So maybe test ride before you make the investment. But I find it to be very easy to maneuver in parking lots, to turn. Now, if you're 5'3", don't be getting 16, 18-inch bars without the experience, because you're going to be outstretched if you got to turn that wheel side to side. So keep that in mind when you're sitting on the bikes. Make sure you turn the wheel all the way to the left and the right, or turn the bars all the way, because that'll give you an idea for just how far outstretched your arms have to be. You know, you want to make sure that you're comfortable going slow, and you don't feel like a fool when you can't turn your bike. So yeah, in closing, I think 8-pounders could be a great fit for you. If you're new, I'd recommend 12s or 14s. If you're really short, maybe even 10s to jump into it. If you have the experience, you're really tall, 16s might be the way to go. Again, these are 16s. I have 14s on my Softail Deuce, and I have 12s on my Street Glide, and 10s on my Sportster Bobber. And pretty much they're all cool. Like, I feel comfortable riding them all. This is definitely these are definitely the highest bars that I have, though. So that'll do it today. I'm gonna deal with this Florida heat. It's got to be mid-90s today. Probably some thunderstorms later, which are needed at this point. But I appreciate you for watching. If you do ride, remember, keep that rubber side down. Y'all be safe out there. Peace. Oh, fuck, dude. It is fucking hot.